Hello, everybody. I am Jax James, NORML's State Policy Manager, and here at our new time and place of Tuesdays in the afternoon to discuss our state policy updates. So, as everybody knows, the elections were in November. We have incumbents that have been reelected, newly elected officials, and legislative sessions in many states will be starting in the coming new year. However, there are just a handful of states that are still in the process of wrapping up their legislative sessions. So I want to go over some of these last active bills for the 2022 session and some of the newly pre-filed bills for 2023. So just so everybody knows, you can go to normal.org/act. And at the very top of the page are all of our federal action alerts. So anyone in any state can participate in those. Of course, we are in the lame duck session. Biden on Friday signed the research legislation, and there is talk about other potential movement in some different legislation at the federal level before the end of the year. So please do go to normal.org/act and participate in those federal action alerts. Now, on top of that, you'll see a dynamic map below, and you can hover over your state and see if your state happens to be one that has either still some active bills moving or some bills pre-filed. So what I would like to ask before I get started is in the comment section, I would love for you guys to put where you're watching from so that potentially I could, give you some custom information from exactly where you are viewing from. So let's kick it off in the action alert handy dandy tracking spreadsheet that I have. I'm going to come over here, and just so everybody knows, there's only a few states that still have legislation moving. New Jersey, Ohio, and Michigan are the last ones with moving legislation. This last month in New Jersey, bills involving insurance coverage and employee protections had some movement. And so I definitely encourage anyone from New Jersey to go ahead, take a look at the normal.org/act, hover over that state, and participate in those action alerts. In Michigan, there was a patient protection bill that was referred to committee, so you can participate in that action alert. And then in Ohio, there's been several bills that have been moving. So there is a Let Doctors Decide medical legislation that media has reported has a likelihood of passing during the lame duck. So we definitely encourage you to participate in that. There was a hearing late last month. And so definitely following up on that, getting some good votes. Of course, there is some legislation having to do with home cultivation and legalization that have recently had hearings or been sent to committee. So those are very important to act on. But additionally, there's been legislation in Ohio that has to do with expungement and precluding paraphernalia from your records. And that did pass the Senate and is now headed to the House. So please make sure that you participate in those if you are living in Ohio. Let me come and check out the comments. Anybody here from Ohio today? We've got Kentucky, Virginia, North Carolina, Maryland, recently legalized. Way to go, Maryland. Virginia, Wisconsin, and Florida. All right. Thanks for sharing that with me, guys. So also just to let you know, there has been some legislation pre-filed in my home state where I am right now in Texas. And there's been a little over a dozen bills that have already been introduced. Now, if we want to discuss some of those, you can go to normal.org. At the top, it'll be an 88th Ledge tab. You can click there. It goes over our goals for the legislative session, as well as a full list of all the bills that have been filed. And you'll also find action alerts having to do with medical cannabis, decriminalization, and legalization there that you can participate in. There have been 2 medical cannabis bills that have already been filed this session, along with about almost a half dozen penalty reduction bill. Most notable is Representative Joe Moody's bill, HB 218, which would deal with not only the decriminalization of flower, but also concentrates, which, if you're not aware, concentrates are a first-degree state jail felony here. Awesome. So definitely looking forward to seeing those bills move. There is a legalization bill that has been authored by my senator, Senator Sarah Eckhart. And then there's a few miscellaneous bills that have been filed, one of which by Senator Charles Perry that has to do with consumable hemp products, specifically Delta 8. So I do encourage all of you to take a look. Legislative session in Texas will start in the beginning of January. And I do want to just have a little shout out here that on January 21st, we will be coordinating a virtual advocacy workshop. You can register for free and participate, and you can find that information on texasnormal.org as well. Now, a few other things that have happened recently. Excuse me, I'm toggling to another tab and I lost my train of thought. But Rhode Island adult use marijuana sales began just 6 months after it was signed into law, and it's one of the fastest implementations in the Northeast. So well done, Rhode Island. Now in Missouri on the 8th, which is in just 2 days, Missouri adults can legally possess cannabis. Retail sales are anticipated to begin in February. And what is especially of note is that state officials this week are also reviewing the records of those with cannabis convictions. All misdemeanor convictions will be expunged within 6 months, and all eligible felonies will be cleared within 12. And expungements will be automatic for anything involving 3 pounds or less. So great news in Missouri as well. So what I really want to encourage everyone to do over the upcoming holidays is look into a chapter near you. You'll see in the description of this live stream below that I have included a link for our chapters. Just look up your state and you can connect with that chapter there so that you make sure that you're engaged for these upcoming legislative sessions. Additionally, if there's not a chapter in your state, which there's a handful of states where we don't have a chapter, there's information on how you could try to start one yourself. So everybody get your clicker finger ready to click on all these action alerts you're going to be getting as we wrap up these sessions in Ohio, New Jersey, and Michigan. And as all of the states kick off, or almost all of the states kick off their legislative sessions in January of 2023. So make sure that you stay tuned. Starting in January, I will begin doing my blog posts again. You've probably noticed that I haven't been doing quite as many since after the legislative sessions have vastly concluded, and since the ballot initiative efforts have concluded, and we just have not had a significant amount of legislation moving. But starting in January, we will. So stay tuned because these live streams will come with blogs starting in January. So I'm going to come over to the comments to see if you guys have any questions, but the too long didn't read today is go to norml.org/act. Everyone in America should participate in those top federal actions, and then you can hover over your state to see if there's any current legislation for you to participate in today. So coming over here, we have some people from Florida. Welcome. Actually, we just hosted our NORML legal conference down in Key West. And so our executive director and founder and deputy director were down there working with lawyers to make sure they are educated and getting their credit. We've got someone from Philadelphia, West Virginia. Awesome. So great to see all of y'all joining us today. I'm not seeing any questions though. So those of you in Ohio, remember that you've got home cultivation and legalization bills, as well as a let doctor decide medical bill that are all moving. New Jersey has had some insurance and patient protections legislation, and same in Michigan. So those 3 states, make sure you participate. If you're in my state of Texas, we've had quite a few bills pre-filed. So make sure you go to texasnormal.org. Click on the 88th ledge and you will get all that information there. So I just want to thank everybody for joining us. We are going to be closing out 2023 and it has been such a momentous year. 3 new states have adopted regulated adult use programs in their state, and almost half of America now has access, safe and regulated access to cannabis. So we plan to keep the momentum going and keep the pressure on in 2023. I will be back to see you next week. But then after that, as we get ready for the holidays, I won't be back until January. So I look forward to continuing to connect with you guys on Tuesdays and give you a rundown on how you can engage with your elected legislators in the upcoming session. So thank you to everybody who tuned in today. I really appreciate y'all watching, and see you soon.